Hello and welcome back from the break. This is time for our first guest. We have a young lady in the studio who has done something very remarkable. She's been able to come out of her shell regardless of whatever she's been plagued with. And she's coming to share her journey with us and to kick against stigma surrounding people living with epilepsy. Please let's make welcome Seyi Aragbada. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon. Good to see you. So tell us, first of all, let's get to know Seyi. Who's Seyi? What was growing up for you like?
My name is Seyi Aragbada. I'm a digital strategist. I've been living with epilepsy for over 7 years now, and I've been having different kind of seizure from the seizure I have now, which is called generalized seizure, which comes with the falling and convulsion. The type of seizure I used to have was just more of rigor. My teeth clenches and then my hand starts to seize, but over time, my parents thought it was just fever. So it took a while for us to realize that it was actually a form of epilepsy, and living with epilepsy in Nigeria is really tough because families want to hide you, they don't want to be stigmatized, but over time, one thing I've learned is if you don't come out of your shell and speak up for yourself, people will keep bullying you, and you shouldn't actually allow that. So I have learned to come out, and then which also birthed my foundation. I started Epilepsy Foundation of Nigeria. It is barely 6 months old.
Beautiful.
But before Epilepsy Foundation of Nigeria, we've done all sorts of awareness. We've gone to schools, which we're still doing. But one thing I really need people to understand is we all really need to come together as people living with epilepsy to stop people from labeling us.
So now let's talk about the very first time you found out you had epilepsy. When did you find that out? And how was your reaction to it?
Okay, my first generalized seizure was on my birthday. I was in 100 level in school. I was 18. And it happened. It was at night, and I just woke up the next day. I made myself on the hospital bed, and I didn't know what was going on around me. And then I think over time, my mom did not want to accept the fact that it was epilepsy, being an African and a Yoruba woman at that. She's like, no, my child does not have epilepsy and all of that. But so for a year, I would rather say I have seizure disorder, which is still the same thing as epilepsy, but I feel more comfortable saying I actually have seizure disorder. I don't have to say I have epilepsy because of the level of stigma people have actually attached to it. Because I was at 100 level, I was in school, I was a new student, it was really tough on me. And then being the kind of person I am, I was into modeling at the time. I had my first modeling agency in school, and people would literally avoid sharing cutlery with me. People would literally say, oh, don't touch her. And I used to have seizure in a lot of public places, which is quite embarrassing, at the front of the faculty.
How many times have you had a seizure, and which have been the most embarrassing?
Every seizure is embarrassing. That's the truth. Even if you're in the confinement of your home, I mean, when you see the look on everyone's face, they're all scared, they're worried about you and all that. So the first time I started experiencing generalized seizure, I used to have 7 seizures a day. Yes, everyone thought I was going to die. But now the last seizure I had was 4 weeks ago. So it's not like I am totally in control of it yet, but it is better. So basically.
Now, there's certain myths surrounding people living with epilepsy. Yeah. What are the myths? Like now you said don't touch her because she's living with epilepsy.
Yes, people believe in Nigeria especially that epilepsy is contagious. It is not contagious. People believe that epilepsy is hereditary. It is not hereditary. A lot of people believe that, by touching, maybe when the person convulses, by touching the saliva, then you can get epilepsy from that. You can't. It is a brain disorder. It is a neurological disorder of brain activities. It's like the way you have the blue wire and the red wire in the circuit, and then in certain circuits, they're not supposed to touch. When they touch, they spark. That's what happens in the brain. So the activity, some was supposed to go, some waves are supposed to go freely and the other one goes freely. But when it connects, when that happens, then there's a spark, which causes seizure. That is what you call the seizure. So a person living with epilepsy, the only form of epilepsy a lot of people know is just the generalized seizure where people fall, but there are over 45 types of epilepsy.
Really?
Yes, and there are over 45 types of seizure. So a person can sit down here right now trying to pick up something and then keeps doing it on and off for seconds. The person is actually having a seizure. But there are different kinds of seizures. So a person you even see that looks normal to you is actually suffering from epilepsy, and the person probably doesn't even know that the person has epilepsy. There are 3 million people in Nigeria currently living with epilepsy, which is like the size of a country. They know. I mean, the 3 million people are the people in record. I am one of the 3 million people. There are 65 million people all over the world. So this is something that needs urgent and immediate attention. People need to not keep sweeping it under the carpet like it doesn't exist. People need to see it as, oh, there are people actually suffering from this. And from research, people die of epilepsy more than they die of breast cancer. But because people don't know about it, people wouldn't pay attention to it because you can't say it. You wouldn't know that people are actually suffering from it. If I don't tell you I live with epilepsy, you will probably see me and say, oh, she's fine, she's not. I can't even drive. And there are people out there who live with epilepsy and they are driving, which is a danger to them and even the society. Imagine you're in a bus, for example, and then the driver is epileptic. The driver has epilepsy, and then
He has a seizure while driving.
You know, so what happens?
I like that you mentioned something very key. You know, people don't understand the challenges. They just think, oh, every once in a while you have a seizure, you fall to the ground, and they come to you. You mentioned that you can't drive.
Yes.
What are the other challenges and the other difficulties that
living with epilepsy is like a whole job on its own. You're on medications. The medication is another form of illness on its own. You are on medications. Okay, for example, now I'm on Keppra, 500 milligram to 1,000 milligram daily. Without Keppra, Keppra has been helping me to maintain my seizures, but it is also damaging my liver, and I get stressed, I get drowsy. Imagine a whole day. I got so used to it that being drowsy becomes a normal thing. I'm actually drowsy right now, but you can't tell because I got used to it. So you get drowsy, you get tired, you forget things easily. You can't do things on your own because you might be doing something and then you have a seizure. Imagine I sit in a place like they have a seizure and then there's nobody to protect me. I hit my head on this. There's something called SUDEP. It's called sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. From that, I can actually die. So you don't sleep. Stress is a thing that can also constitute to you having a seizure. So you don't sleep, you can die. You sleep, you can die, you know. So people actually, there are some people who have seizures from their sleep, and that is one of the most risky form of seizure because a person can actually die from that because you're not aware when it happened. You were asleep. So you see people like that, it's called focal seizure or absent seizure. They don't know what is going on with them.
And from there they die.
Not every time, but you're exposed to more of SUDEP. So you see some people, which is why it is so important for people to know seizure first aids. You don't force things in their mouth. You don't restrain them from, you let the seizure manifest. You don't have to restrain them. Okay. They're just basic steps.
I think we need to explain this because here in Nigeria, I don't know if it's in other parts of Africa, but in Nigeria, the first thing people do when one has a seizure is to try to put spoon into their mouth.
You're hurting the person and you're hurting yourself. It's like the way the circuit is breaking together and you try to force a spoon in between. You're just messing up the person's head even more. So the first aid is basically you just need to clear things around them that you think might hurt them. You know, maybe they are sharp objects, they are stones, they are tables like this. You try to move it away and then you watch the person time the seizure. If a seizure goes past 5 minutes, the person needs urgent medical attention. It means that the person can actually die from such seizure. So aside from that, you try to, once the seizure is calming down, you try to turn the person to the side. In between that, try to raise the person's head with something soft. Okay. Don't put a pillow because a pillow can actually, the person can choke from it. The person needs to be able to breathe properly. So you put the pillow and that is all. If the person comes and just offer help, oh, are you good? It can be scary. You can get scared. But try to calm yourself down. Also calm people around you down. So that's the major first aid to everybody living. So
the first aid is do not put anything in their mouth.
Do not do that. Don't pour them water. Don't do that. Don't let me say them horse. Don't pour us water. Don't restrain the person. Don't restrain the person's movement. Just move things around them. Turn them to their side if the seizure starts to subdue. And after that, just time the seizure as well. It is very important you do that. And then offer help once the seizure is over. That's all.
It's important to get into, I want to get into your head a little more and find out, you know, I like that this has been a very eye-opening conversation because there are things that I didn't know that I'm learning as well. Let's talk about you and your fears when it comes to living with epilepsy. I'm sure you must have been in relationships. And at some point, did you have to tell whoever you were dating that you had epilepsy? And when you did, if you did, how was their reaction?
It took me just a year to battle hiding, oh, I have epilepsy. After 1 year, I don't care who you are. I approach you. If conversations bring that up, I will tell you. I don't hide it. It is not something I bring upon myself. I am suffering from something I don't even know because 60% of people diagnosed with epilepsy it's an unknown cause. So it's only few people that probably maybe suffered injury from birth. Some people maybe from drug abuse and all of that. But imagine 60% don't actually know why they have it. And then I'm going through so much pain. And then I care about what your opinion is over my life. I'm so sorry. No, I don't hide that. I've always come out of my confinement. If need arise, if I need, because it's also a form of awareness for people. So as much as I can, I try to educate people everywhere I go to. It has never, I've only been in 2 relationships. My last relationship I had last year. It has never been a problem for me. It wasn't.
Had he ever experienced you having a seizure?
Twice, yes. So
And how was it for him?
Of course, it will be scary, but we go over it. So
okay. I'm really glad that wasn't a major issue between you and.
It wasn't, but that doesn't mean it doesn't affect other people. I mean, in some states in Nigeria, women living with epilepsy are denied marriage because they believe it's hereditary. It is not hereditary. My parents do not have seizure. My grandparents do not have seizure. In my family, from the generation I know, I'm the only one experiencing seizure. So it is not hereditary. The fact that you're marrying somebody who lives with epilepsy does not mean that you're going to give birth to epileptic children, basically.
So now we know there's no known treatment for epilepsy.
It has no cure.
No cure.
But there is treatment. It can
so
be
the treatment
controlled.
is to reduce the seizures.
Yes, to control the seizure. So people do therapies. People do medications. People do diets. There's something called ketogenic diets. It's more of protein. I tried that, but it didn't really work for me. So,
for those who don't know, the ketogenic diet means
you can just check Google. Just check Google.
Cut out carbs and you focus on protein.
And that's it. So, and then people go for surgery to correct the seizure.
And does that work?
Sometimes it does, but for some people it works over time and then it comes back again. So, and then the level of stigmatization is so bad. I've been on other shows and all that, and then people call in and say, oh, one example, that the grandfather used to cure seizure back in the days and then they vomit lizard. How can something that affects the brain get to the stomach? And how do you vomit lizard from the brain? I don't know, where's the lizard coming from?
I know, we can be very, very, very superstitious, you know, in Nigeria. But
and
I'm very glad that you're speaking about this so freely and so boldly. I want to refute a lot of the myths surrounding people living with epilepsy.
Yes.
One, epilepsy cannot be transferred via a hug, you know, physical contact, or even via
any form of contact.
Any form of contact, using their utensils.
It is not contagious. It is not contagious. Any form of contact. She can live with a person. If it was, my entire family should have epilepsy by now. So it is not contagious. You touch the person, you hug the person, you live with the person, you do anything. They are normal. We are normal human beings like you. You know, so it is not contagious. Touching the saliva or sharing cutlery does not mean you're going to get
that's the most popular one in Nigeria. They say, oh, if you come in contact with their saliva, you stand the chance of having epilepsy.
It is not true.
So now let's talk about your foundation. You know, you must have gone through a process before you were able to break free. At what point were you able to break free? What spurred you to break free from hiding the fact that you lived with epilepsy? And knowing that you're of African descent, and African parents usually like to keep such stuff private, but you've been able to break free, start a foundation to create awareness, treatment, and prevent stigma. At what point were you able to break free from that shackle?
I would say that I have the most supporting family ever. They are so amazing. You know, I have the kind of family where I say, oh, this is what I want to do. And everybody goes, oh, is that what you want to do? Okay, let's do it. So my mom had an issue at first. I mean, for the first 2-3 months, she's like, no, you don't know what you're going to go through. You're not even coming out to the public. People are doing these things to you. I mean, there are times I have a seizure and I meet anointing oil all over my body. I am not possessed. I do not have evil spirit. It is not through. So it's a lot. So but over time, after a few months, my brother, my sisters, everybody are kidding, like, oh, don't worry, we're here for you and all that. My mom started supporting as well. So it wasn't really an issue for me.
Beautiful. So tell us about your foundation.
Epilepsy Foundation of Nigeria is all about living well with epilepsy. It's all about breaking out of that confinement. Don't let the stigma or the society dictate what you want. I mean, there are people who got fired from their job because they had a seizure.
Which is absolutely
wrong.
Depending though on the type of job. So there are some jobs that might need extra concentration. So maybe we would actually need to go into the legal provisions for that. I do not think anybody should be stigmatized based on the condition of their health.
Yeah.
But people, it's something that's depending on the kind of job. Now, like you mentioned earlier, if it's a job that involves driving, you might not be able to do that job. You know?
But not a teacher.
But not something that involves.
She was a teacher.
Oh no.
That wasn't called for. That was so unfair. And it's so sad that we don't actually have legal stuffs in Nigeria to actually fight and all that. But we are working towards that. So
which is something that's beautiful.
The foundation, what the foundation stands for as well is that we should also learn to educate others. You can't blame people for their ignorance. You can't blame them. I'm
definitely taking this as a challenge, at least on my Instagram today. I'm putting up a post.
There's actually a challenge going on.
Beautiful.
It's called Don't Label Me. You just get a sticker, stick it to your head. If you can write Don't Label Me on it, write it on it, stick it to your forehead, take a picture, tag Epilepsy Nigeria. That's our Instagram, our Facebook, and Twitter as well. And then you can put hashtag epilepsy awareness. So don't label me. That's the challenge.
So what's your foundation about? Is there any project you're working on?
Yes, we're working on a lot of projects. One of the projects is actually happening on Saturday at Kano in the BC Park, 8 a.m. in the morning. It's a walk against epilepsy. We're trying to educate the general public, as many people as we can. And after the walk, 2 weeks after, we are kicking off with going to schools all over Nigeria.
Beautiful.
So we want to start from as much as even primary schools, secondary, tertiary, and all those other platforms as well, and as many people as we can educate. So after the work, we are starting that as well. So after that, there are other things, but those are the major things for now.
So when people want to follow you on social media and your foundation, what are your handles?
At Epilepsy Nigeria, across all social platforms.
Okay, all social platforms.
Yes.
And if there are people who are who maybe just found out that they're living with epilepsy and are trying to come to terms with this knowledge, they can reach out to you personally?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Via Epilepsy Nigeria?
At Epilepsy Nigeria.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
All right, we've been speaking with Seyi Aragbada. Seyi Aragbada is the founder of Epilepsy Foundation of Nigeria. She shared her story, how she found out she has epilepsy, living with epilepsy, treating epilepsy, and basically urging the public out there to not label or stigmatize or stick to the myths that surround people living with epilepsy. There are normal people like you and normal people like me. Thank you so much for being so bold enough to share your story. I can't wait to do a picture with you for Instagram. All right, to go on a quick break. When we come back, the legend that is Majek Fashek will be joining us right after now.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love her.